Today I have two main topics that I want to cover, and they're going to merge, but they're about truth and reality creation. So our beliefs, whatever we believe, consciously what we believe, but more importantly, subconsciously what we believe, meaning all the unconscious memorized beliefs we have that we don't even know. Those subconscious beliefs and conscious beliefs are creating our reality. They're what we project out in front of us. And a lot of times, you're not even aware of why certain things are happening around you. And it's this type of deep dive that we want to do today around our subconscious, and I'm going to put a slash with their subconscious, unconscious beliefs, that we want to find, like, why is there certain things still happening in front of us? And these are things we've talked about a lot. But when our belief is deep down and we have no idea, it is our truth. And so everybody's true. Like, there's nobody that's not true. All the sum total of your beliefs is creating what's true for you. And that truth is then projecting out in front of you, creating all these different reality patterns and scenes. So we really want to find out, is my truth, is my reality, are my beliefs highest and best for me? That's what we're looking for, because you can alter your truth, you can alter your beliefs, and you can alter your reality, but you've got to actually realize what's sitting in the kitty, what's sitting inside your deep body fascia. Yeah, take a picture of it. So just to remind ourselves, 95%, and this is just a cookie cutter quote that most people will say, 95% of your reality is memorized, subconscious feelings, emotions, memories, mainly a lot of memories, and those belief systems. So we want to find out what is causing my now to be in any way limit or lack. And the things that I can find in people when they're telling me a story, or they're just like usually complaining, I can see where they've locked in, or they are unconsciously locked into some belief pattern. Like, they'll tell me, well, he always does that. This always happens. And they may not even use the always. Well, that's just the way it is. Everything that's happening in front of us, if we're just basing it on the past and we're just kind of going off of, well, linearity, and this is the way things have always been, well, yeah, that's the way your reality, your truth, and your beliefs are hardwired, and they're going to show you all those things in front of you continually until you actually get in front of the horse and start programming the reality and catching yourself that you just said that. Like, if you don't like what's going on, you telling someone a story about what you don't like what's going on, it's just further actually putting myelin sheath. It's further entangling the neurons to strengthen the binding of that to be projected out in front of you. So, if you're around me, I'm like, well, if you say something like delete, because I'm hoping that I and you really, if we don't like it, let's let it go. Now, a lot of us are we have big hearts. We're parents. We're in maybe a therapist position or a guide or coaching. And so it's a pretty normal thing for someone, well, this is what I'm working on, or this is what's going on in my life. It's just, we want to be aware that if someone's sharing that with us, or we're pulling that out of them, can we end on a good note? Can we actually help them with the reprogramming that says, well, you clearly don't want that anymore. Can we go ahead and delete all that? And your body is it's a computer, and it's listening really for this kind of computer terms. It's listening for delete. It's listening for the commands that literally can say, oh, she doesn't want that anymore. But then if you don't put something into it, it's typical, what I see is that you'll still fall back on default because you're just so used to saying it, or in social situations, this is where we are in humanity. It's just socially a norm, and I can release this in a minute. It's socially a norm to tell people what's going on, and what our problem is. So it's a shift. I'm so glad I'm deleting that. If you're willing to delete, that's a social norm. Are you willing?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
that now it's a social norm that people tell each other how amazing things are going, and like how they're going to create something amazing to happen because they actually figured out reality creation, that it's not talking about the past to create the future, it's talking about the future to create the future. Like, we have to actually call it in. And there really is no past or future. What we're really talking about is higher and lower probabilities. So it's talking about higher probabilities. Even though, like, deep down you want to say, like, the horrible thing that just happened, it's getting a hold of yourself and be like, okay, 95% of my fascia and tissues that loves to do that. Because why? It's trying to keep you safe. Part of the limbic system, the midbrain, the primitive brain, the reptilian brain, wants to keep you to survive. And so it really is typically looking for those things that might take you out. And that's that addiction to, like, kind of like, okay, where's the bear? You know, where's the rhino? Where's the car? Like, what's going to happen? So this primitive brain, we have to start to override. And we can do that again. So everywhere we've bought into that it wants to, you know, keep us in survival mode, we'd be willing to release that. Now the limbic brain and the reptilian brain want to keep us in thriving mode. And it loves to see us expand and grow. So I literally I'm going to work with that. You know, like, I just found a good one. Like, you know, you found a good one. Like, oh my God. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you'll go to talk to people, and because we're such scholars, and, you know, like, we research and find out information, we're like, whoa, you know, 95% of the subconscious mind. We just keep repeating because we're trying to educate ourselves and others, but yet we can find right in the moment, like, okay, well, what if that wasn't true, right? There's the truth thing. What if I make a new truth? That the limbic system actually focuses on thriving, on, like, expansion, and, like, making our awesome world even better. So that's what I am after with myself, with my beloveds, you all, my friends, everyone in my life. I love that we're in that state of the existence. That's the new earth. That's the child who's, like, we call them crystal children, star children. They want us to be that way. They actually are that way. They don't usually have a lot of fluff in there, though. You know, the rainbows and unicorns. They're just matter of fact about it. They're so holding the whole spectrum of perfection. They're just like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You know, like, literally no brain. You know, they're at the heart, and they're actualizing really magical things, because that's where they come from, this higher probability, right? That's why they're crystal or star frequency. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. The good pile
Yeah, and especially because for programming, we have to have repetition for it to program. Meaning, we have to have the neurons, two neurons to fire and wire together. You just pulled a higher probability at a new thought. This is a new thought. Okay. It's all thoughts. Like, that's how thoughts are happening. And if, in order for me to make it a new program, I've got to keep saying it again and again and have it be my new truth.
Like
to build a belief.
Muscle.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's firing, wiring. Then the myelin sheath grows and it thickens. Then it becomes a stronger pathway that literally right next to it, where I used to think the negative thought, all of a sudden it's like there's no firing, wiring going through that anymore. So it shifts. So we want to be able to make these shifts into new program, like, you know, their depth. Almost like I'm trying to think of a river or a ravine or something, but you want to be able to literally shift the train track over. And once you start shifting the train track over, when you start reaching these higher states of higher probabilities, what also then happens is we get to that star crystal child brain, which is the Buddha brain, and the whole brain illuminates. So we start to then have a whole brain activation that is like the child I just spoke about. It's matter of fact. It's holding the whole framework at once, and it can see everything at once. So that's why you meditate, you know, why you're practicing mindfulness, meaning you're getting in the gap, or you're practicing meditation more often, is because you're learning how to step out of this duality, out of subconscious 95% of the brain and 5% conscious brain. You literally pull out of it the whole framework and you become all of it.
Is that the same as the observer seat?
The observer, we call it the observer seat, the witness, the I am
Okay.
presence, the
Cool.
presence, ether, the whole field. So you're realizing, wait, I'm not just in this body, I'm actually this whole thing. And then you can step back and your whole brain actually illuminates in that state. And that's why it's so fun to be there and releasing the addiction to the, oh, well, I got to stay in my body and my ego and I got to have opinion and I got to like have this battle with this person. You're like literally like, and you're in the body, and then all of a sudden you're firing and wiring, going down those pathways that have been like for eons, not only this lifetime, other lifetimes, ancestrally, easy to fall into because, again, like I was saying earlier, what we released, delete the social ways of people talking about thriving, the old way they used to talk about not thriving. So we want to acknowledge that it's kind of like a stepping stone, that if I find myself focusing on something that I don't like, well, let me shift that. And then can I actually step out of it all and become really big and not even have an opinion and just sit there, right? And you just hold space. Then the whole brain opens, which allows for all the other cast of characters in the play to also start to level up and lift. Because there's nothing coming from your projector seat, there's nothing that you're holding on to, and it's your projector seat. You're literally sitting at source seat projecting the reality. All the cast of characters, when you're engaged in it, everybody's got to play their part, right? Because you're literally projecting out of this projector a memorized past that you're calling your now. But when you pull out, you'll watch people, they're like, I don't even know what I'm talking about. They just kind of lose the energy, the steam goes out because you're projecting the whole thing, but you pulled out. And all of a sudden, maybe a bird starts chirping. And then everybody starts paying attention to the bird. So we get into not only myself, but I allow the others in the play also to get into that bigger witness stance. So it's beautiful. Another thing I don't know if I said it last week, but it's like looking at temperature. Temperature, like if hot is down here and cold is up here, it's all temperature, right? If this is 0 degrees, this is 20 degrees, this is 80 degrees. It's all temperature, but where am I focused? So let's say this temperature wasn't temperature anymore. Now it's good and bad. This is bad, this is okay, this is good. It's just wholeness, right? It's where are we focused at? So when we're in individual consciousness, a lot of the times we're focused on one place. But when we pull out and we look down this thing, we just see it was all one thing. It was just one concept of temperature, one concept of us, how we were judging the reality. And in this seat, so let's look at this drawing. This guy, he had a lot of memorization of, things not going so well. He's sad. He thinks everything's sad. People are sad and bad. So that's his reality, But for this guy though, like his only way to actually find the contrast of what is good is he's having to really look at what's bad. He's just really focused down here. Eventually he's going to have the cosmic switch that gets him to go, well, wait a minute, what is good? Maybe I don't want the bad anymore. So as this lower scene, if we're looking at that example of, the one, us all being one, good and bad, the same thing up here, this guy thinks everything's good, so everything he sees is good, and that's the projection. But the bigger being, which is what we're after, is all of it. And we can just see that this guy needed his spiritual growth. Like he was just going through whatever, karmic things that he still need to experience that he would call sad and bad. And so as we're doing presence practitioner training tomorrow, and that just means we're good at holding space and not judging that this guy still needs to go through the bad. We're just like, all right, that's where they're at. And eventually, if I don't get my hand in it too much, and I can literally pull out, he's going to have that cosmic switch that he gets to actually see himself, because nothing's hanging on. I'm not hanging on to it. I'm not entangled to it. I've actually spread out to hold space for it. And as this bigger being, though, you, as you witness and observe and you see the characters in front of you, and you're like, wow, I used to be that way. I used to be the good guy, the bad guy, and the guy like trying to like get in the middle of it. I mean, I got chills just now. Something about that is hitting home for some of us. Like, whoa. You getting into this blue guy, being able to witness the characters and seeing yourself in all of them, then you're jumping in your spiritual growth. And you're literally holding worlds, building worlds. You're holding the whole plane wide open, again, like I said, to ground heaven on earth. So it's a great place to be. Any other aha? Yeah. And when you're creating the life that you want, that does ground heaven on earth. Because from this I that I am, creating the life that I want, and then I invite others to do the same. Meaning I'm not like telling them, hey, you should do this. I'm allowing from my perception that all are in their perfect spot and all are doing well. I literally am world building and projecting a new probability, a higher probability. And I'm giving space for that to exist. So I have to catch myself. It's an upgrade for me. I'll try to speak to something real that went on recently. Whereas I used to give like mentoring or guidance of like pointing something out that someone did. You know, like, well, you did this and you shouldn't have done that. But I must believe that they'd be that way. So it's all on me.
Yeah. I
had nothing to say to them. Other than to realize, wow, I was still going from my old way of mentoring, that I thought I had to point it out to them what they were doing, when really I must have expected them to do that in that way. So I had to come back inside myself and say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And, you know, where is this coming from? Where am I expecting others to be this way in my life? And it may not even be like real close to home. So the things that I had to check was like, is this mine? No. Is this, because you get in this big stance, you may think it's all yours. But sometimes because you're holding such a big space of presence, you're picking up on the others in your life as yourself. So I was like, is this, you know, my husband's, you know, point of view? Yes. Connected his family? Yes. Okay. So I was looking from my pigeonhole through him, through family, expecting the reality to be a certain way, thinking it was my thought. I mean, it is all. But do you see what I'm saying? So you might have to go a little bit out from yourself to see, like, well, where am I expecting this? Or where am I holding this expectation? Can you check on that? Where am I holding this expectation for the others in my life? Because what would happen, welcome, what would happen if I allowed everybody to be awesome and I allowed them to be the eternal living souls, and I allowed myself to even see the others through their eyes? So it's like a little bit more of a jump. Now I got to imagine through my husband that he sees his family in a certain way. Do you get that?
Say that again.
Yeah, imagine.
And why are you looking for these things? Well, like I said, you're looking for the conception point. Where is this coming from? Something weird just happened. I thought we were done with this. Is this mine? No. Is this someone else? Yeah, I'm just going to, get an example. Yes. Is this my family? No. Is it a friend? Yes. Oh, which friend? So you can find, like, as you're getting to the bigger being, where are you actually looking through and from? It may not just be from your individual space. So that's what I mean. It's always going to give you biofeedback from the eye of the projector, from source seed, of exactly what you believe. Even though you're like, well, I believe this is a great world. Well, no, you're going to see what you really believe in the subconscious mind that's been memorized because it's there in front of you. And are you willing to let all that go? You know, and like literally world build and have it be a new world in front of you. And a lot of people are included in that. The other thing is you may notice that when you're doing this reprogramming and you find yourself, you know, like maybe you're just overwhelmed with sensation, kind of like what Madat, you brought up, the feeling. So, and actually I had a session with someone this morning, this is similar. I'll speak to I'm really good at expanding really big, like we talk about the being the presence. And if I expanded really big and I went, I'll just use the New Orleans thing. And I literally was like, whoa, I don't even know what to call out or what to actually deal with. That's why it took all night. What I do is I pull back in small. I become this small, and then I go ahead and work on things that were obvious and that I could pick up. And then I'm usually calling out whatever else I can think of. I'm first deleting it, meaning I'm like, I know, you know, anything and everything that was, you know, connected to that belief system, good, bad, right, wrong, using access consciousness clearing statement, using, you know, any clearing statement that you can think of, you may need to call out, but you're clearing it out. But energetically, it's like I pulled my energy in to midline. Once I get all that done, I'm recoded, then it's easier to spread back out. And you may not need to walk around huge, you know. You may be with friends and like you kind of being in the witness stance, you might feel like you're just spaced out and they're like, Madet, are you there? And you're like, I'm the president. I don't know. So it's just learning how to be an accordion with your energy and learning about the energetic mechanics that happen as you start to like navigate, okay, like I need to pull in because there's a lot I need to recode so I can spread back out. Does that make sense? Okay. Sway muscle testing that we all do here. And so I want to, does anybody not know how to do the body sway muscle testing?
Okay, that's good.
So if you want, I want to do an example. And the reason I want to do this example with the body sway muscle testing is several. One is because it gets you embodied. So you literally getting your answer in tandem, meaning using one of your clairs and using the body sway at the same time, gets you to trust your answers and it gets you to embody. It actually gets the current of the soul, electricity, to go down through your feet. So that's very helpful. The other thing is that a lot of times, because we're so multidimensional and we have many aspects of self that have different points of view, meaning your inner child might say yes, but your body says no. So there's some of that you can, by addressing consciousness and using the body sway, you can really get very clear answers. And you can find out where there's been, arguments inside of you, basically, of these aspects of self butting heads and why you're not feeling like clear about some things. You know, people are like, well, I just can't get a clear answer, or I really don't know which way to go. A lot of times because of there's several aspects, and sometimes like more than two aspects of self can have different points of view. So giving these other aspects of self a voice or a space to actually communicate with yes and no questions with the body sway can clean it up so that you really are streaming down your central channel in all directions, actually, and becoming more of a merger and actually moving forward instead of like sidestepping and doing back and forth and all the way around. Does that make sense? The other and last thing why is that your body, like I said, is mostly programmed subconscious material. Your body's on autopilot. So the subconscious mind is an autopilot mind. the way it's autopilot is because it's got memorized files that says, this is good, this is bad, you should go there, this is how this works. And it's been memorizing it your whole life. So this whole body is literally all this memorized material. And most of the time, the things that are in our subconscious mind, we have no idea about. Consciously, we're like, yeah, no, I believe this is good, or I believe this is the way. But the body, we need to actually get back in, like I said, and do this reprogramming. So when we're adding in our body sway muscle testing, you're really helping to get it to go into body. Does that make sense? Or you have a question? Yeah. I mean, when we learn about like epigenetics, that really everything, our environment is shaping our reality. We could also include our ancestors in that. It's shaping how you show up, right? You and your body, how it looks. I mean, you could start believing you look different and you will change. Okay. You see this a lot with pets and their animals and their owners. They start looking alike, right? They're influencing each other. So we can change. We can change our whole body. You know, I'm working on it. I'm like working on my abs, visualizing it.
It's funny how we are able to change our thoughts, but no one teaches us how to change our body with the thoughts.
Right. Well, let's do it. You know, it's totally doable.
They have done experiments where if you sit and think about the exercise for 20 minutes, you get the same physical results as if you did it.
Yes.
They've done studies.
I'm like, let's do speed of light with that.
Yeah, and it just takes you doing it, you know, like literally taking the time to visualize. So I sometimes I'll run when I'm laying down. I run around and do like a big marathon, especially because I'm working on these abs.
You need to laugh a lot.
Yes, laughing is good. The other reason I wanted us to look at this before we do the exercise is that, remember, when we're getting answers typically from the subconscious mind. So like when you're asking, is this good for me? You know, another thing is to ask, is it true? Is this truth? Is this, good for me? Is it true anymore for me? From my highest intelligence. Even though I got a yes, it's like, I'll give you an example. So, is it for the highest and best that I walk everywhere? Is that true? No. Mm-hmm. Do I have a belief system that says I should walk everywhere? So you're looking for a belief that's making you get yeses on your muscle testing, yeses on your intuiting things, because everything's here to be made new. If I want to truly fly, I've got to release a belief that I can only walk. You know what I mean?
Make room for it.
We've got to make room for it and start building it in. Mm-hmm. So that's where I just want us, or myself, and I'm passing this on, is to really start to look at, is this really true? Is this 100% for my highest and best? Is this helping me actually evolve into my highest potential? Is this holding me back by keeping this belief? So anyone want to share anything about that? Anything you feel different in your body? Just anything?
More relaxed.
More relaxed.
Not holding as much as tense muscles as I usually do.
Good.
It's release.
I definitely felt like the movement, but I felt like I kept locking my knees, and I don't know if that was affecting anything. Can it, or is that just a natural reaction? Only
time I tell people, like, if they're not getting any answers, sometimes it's because they're locking their knees. Okay. But typically, like hips width apart, I tend to have my hands open, like Syed had his hands closed, whatever feels comfortable. Okay. Because you could also visualize yourself doing this. Like sometimes I'll just visualize myself doing it up to the side. I've done it driving, I'm like, I don't need to do it, but you can do it sitting in a seat.
It's like you were talking about the connections in your brain. The more you do it, the more honed in it will get,
yes. Right? And, I think Carrie, you were talking about this as well. Like most of the time, if I'm out in public or anywhere, like people will circle around with me, and I'll start swaying, and then they'll start swaying. They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, you're just, you're getting truth. Like we're human pendulums. We are. That's what the body is. That's why you go forward, because the muscles are firing together to move it forward. It's part of the game." And I taught this at University of Florida, kinesiology, in my master's program. But the way I taught it was for like physical therapy and occupational therapy students to test muscles to see if it was firing into the muscle, if the nerve was actually intervening the muscle. So later in this kind of experience, I was like, well, wow, we could be using this body sway to actually get answers and have more truth with, especially people who don't have the clairs and they can't hear, see, feel, know. So it's definitely come in very handy, especially like I said, because you get embodied, and you're not really, a lot of people who are in this type of work, clairs, their metaphysical talents, they're not necessarily in their body. And so it really helps get you back down in there and get all that energy flowing through all the meridians and keeping yourself in the game. Right, and you can see, if you believe that you choose the way you come in to work on spiritual growth on certain topics of certain limitations that will help you evolve back into the wholeness again. It's amazing, like to see your weave, exactly how you wove in was perfected state. And it was the expansion beyond that small packet that you identified as that body and that being back into the wholeness, to be able to look like an eagle down over it and be like, I love you all. Which is what I'd love to end on, that exercise. Do you want to guide us on that? What you did with the parallel selves and the Reiki? I can if you don't want to.
I mean, it was just a very just kind of like interesting download today, and I can also mention like a download that I got last night when I was at a Reiki share. And I think it would be a good exercise to do as well. I always ask Spirit to share me a story, to tell me a story for when I get messages. So this one was called the heart flower, story of the heart flower, and it showed me to envision that within each of our hearts that it showed me kind of like those miniature sets that people have for doll houses and stuff, and it showed me that within our heart to kind of picture that there's a living room or dining room table or whatever kind of scene that you want to place within your heart, and that there was a bunch of different vases of flowers on these tables, and that within each of our hearts there are these beautiful flowers that are always there, and that every day when you wake up to check in on these flowers. Are they in full bloom? Are they a little wilted? Or maybe these flowers are dead? And that it's a good way to every morning to really just check in on your heart that day. And so if your heart flowers are a little wilted, to give it love and to call upon it showed me that we have heart fairies, which are aspects of our higher self, to call upon our heart fairies to just simply come and water our flowers and to help our flowers bloom. And that we can do this for other people's flowers, so that we can tune in to other people. And if we check on them, being an empath, if we feel like the person that we walked by the other day, maybe their flowers were dead or extremely wilted, that we can just call upon our heart fairies to help water their flowers and bring them back to life. And today I was called upon pretty much watering all my parallel selves and watering their flowers today, through giving them distance Reiki or distance love. And I feel like if any of us have those parallel selves that are possibly going through a tough time or whatnot, that we can check in on our parallel hearts as well and water those flowers. So that's what it kind of showed me.
That was beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.